Hello coaches and welcome to this edition of Give and Go Live. My name's David Newberry and I'm joined by my colleague Ian Barker. Hello Ian.
Hello David, pleasure to be here.
Ian, this is the first in a series of two activities from the 2019 convention featuring Richard Scott from New York Red Bulls, and the focus of this particular combination of sessions is looking at developing wide attacking play. We're going to be using a video from the convention and diagrams from Quick Tactics. In our first setup, we see that it is a pretty simple environment, but it is looking at the functional roles of a few different players. Primarily, the focus is on the role of the number 2, the wide right-sided defender. And in addition to that, we have the 4 and the 5, which are central defenders, and those roles are interplayed between the defensive roles of the 4 and the 5 and the target roles of the number 9, the striker. And as we see on this diagram, we have 2 balls in play, both on a similar rotation, with the 4 passing out to the number 2, the 2 receiving it with a couple of touch rhythm in a wide position close to the mannequin, serving as a defender, and then the ball is played to the high player, the number 9. Once the number 9 receives it, that player now becomes the function of a central defender, number 5, who passes over to the other central defender, and then the ball is now played out to the number 2 coming in the opposite direction. So Ian, well, let's talk about some of the methodology we might see on this particularly simple setup.
Yeah, so I think very good for U12, U13, 14 players starting to get a rhythm. Certainly you could do it with college players and senior players. But of course, this player and this player are currently in the position where they would be wide on the field, hugging the touchline and looking to receive a ball across their body in order to play forward on the diagonal into a striker or a midfielder. So quite a lot of functional importance to the body position, how the ball is played to them for the people in these wide spaces. The mannequins also provide, and they will subsequently provide, a little idea of checking off into space and just avoiding traffic before we add live defenders or live opponents. And then when we look back here at these players that start the activity and these players that will ultimately receive it and start it back the other way, the relationship between 2 strikers receiving it or 2 center backs playing between them. In this case, we see that the ball is played forward, just ever so slightly forward, by essentially 1 center back to the other one. We might want to change that up and have the position of the player here so the ball is played back, because sometimes the center back may drop it to their teammate as opposed to play it in advance of them. But again, quite a lot of like little technical details here, body position details, surface of the foot, and then slowly building in the relevance of being the deep lying player, being the high player, receiving it almost like a number 9, and certainly and importantly being the wide player looking to receive the ball across your body, get it knocked forward.
So Ian, let's have a look at the video now. This is about 7 minutes long, and then we'll come back to look at sequence 2 and 3.
The only challenge for you so far is to see if we can get that ball to catch that ball, and vice versa. Play. Okay, go and play as quick as you can. Good. See if you can catch that ball that's ahead. Come on, keep playing. Go and see if you can catch the other ball. Quick, quick, quick. Good. So what we're going to say is that you 2 are midfield players. So when the ball travels across, we'll move across the field with the ball. So play over. Yep. Good. Hold. Once it goes wide, we'll now play into your number 10. We'll connect. Yep. And now play her in down the line. Good. Once the ball moves, keep it moving. Keep it moving. We'll do the same thing across the other side. And hold. Easy, right? Good. Freeze. Change direction. Play. Good. So just for coaches, just in this moment, I'm just trying to have a look at the activity, just see that the players get a general understanding of how it works, and just make any tweaks that I might need to on the fly. And when we're in a wide position, we're just going to try and get you to check in and show for the ball. So if I just play on the shoulder here, as the ball's with the first centre back, I'm just going to play off the shoulder. As soon as it's played over, pass. Once this player receives the ball, I'm going to come and find it. If I'm good, I can do that and play round the corner with one touch, play back. Or if I need to, play. It's catch, play, hold. Once the 6 is connected with the 10, that's my time, to get in behind, okay? Ready, so play off the shoulder, good. Play. Well played. Timing movement, good. Keep playing. We'll see if you can position yourself here so that she can choose to play over, or we can play through you in there, okay? As the ball moves into here, see if you can get in the same line as the ball. So can we move? Hold, good. I want you to try and play as high as you can, okay? Go, higher. Keep going. In the same line as the ball, good. So once it goes wide, we're now looking at the timing of your movement to come and find it. Play in. Out and then support. Yep, in here. Good, and then we'll connect and get you in down the line, okay? Pink, same thing for you. So when the ball's here and it travels across, they might use you to connect, okay? Play. So timing movement. Good. Well done. And now come and play here. So we can see the ball. Good. Stand still. Stand still. Good. So we want to keep this lane open, okay? Keep playing. Good. And now go and stretch it again. Go and stretch it again. Go on, you can catch your pinks again. Go on, catch them up. Catch them up. Good. Hold. Good. Just play back and play back. Okay. So when the ball comes into you, your choices now is just, it has been just to play in here. What can you do when we give you the ball? Where can you go? We've given you 2 choices so far. What were they? Play in. What did we say you could do now when we give you the ball? You could play there, good. Or what was the other one? Yeah, or you could play back into me. So here's the deal. Play back. This player now is the number 5. You're like a number 3 in this position, like a left back. So the ball comes over. I can disguise a pass there into here, connect and play out. Hold. As the number 10 now, when the ball's played into you, I'm going to give you another choice. So just play back in there. Go and split the 2 centre backs with your position. If you come straight in here, we can go there is another option. So connect if you want. If not, just play around the corner. Okay? Ball will go over there. Yep. Ball's going across. That's your ball. Play. Good. Well done. Come and stretch it here. Come play high. Come play high.
Okay, Ian. So now we've seen the both. Oh, hold on, I'm getting the feedback. Okay, I'm back on now. Yeah, so Ian, we've now seen the full video, including sequence 2 and 3. So let's talk a little bit about sequence number 2. You will see that the ball is played as before out to the fullback, the number 2, from the central defender, the number 4. But now there's a combination involving 2 additional players, the number 10 and the number 6. And in this example, on the left-hand side, we see the ball go out to the 2. Number 2 plays the ball high to the number 10, as we would normally see functionally in a game. And then that ball is dropped back on an angle to the number 6, who then plays the ball, a return pass to the number 2, who's re-engaged in the sequence. And then that number 2 plays in, as before, to the number 9. So that's the sequence. Let's go into the methodology.
Thanks, David. So one of the things I like now is that this is particularly functional for these 2 players because they will remain fixed inside the center of the activity, at least until the coach turns it over, and will perform the role of central midfielders. What's critical here is you can see how they have got one deep and one high. So we're suggesting that our central midfielders are staggered off of each other with angles, with depth and length, which I think is really important, so they're not flat. In this particular case, the up again, back and through rhythm is one passing sequence. Of course, as coaches, we can come up with a few different ideas there, and we'll see one after this. But I like these angles of support. I like the notion of length and width in this activity. Again, these players around the edge, if we continue to have them rotate around, will flip from being wide players to central players, central deep or central high. And I've got no problem with that as long as the players are beginning to understand what role they perform when they're in a particular position. Again, I think U11, U12 as a beginning start for this activity would be really good. And then once again, the mannequins, we can start asking the players receiving the ball to check off the mannequin, maybe come from behind the mannequin and pop up in front, pop up in an advanced position, a deep position. So use these mannequins, and sometimes we use trash bins. Sometimes maybe the coach just stands there and can observe the session and pose that problem. But I think there's some really interesting little methodological opportunity here to get a pretty nice flowing session before we start adding in opponents and direction, of course.
And then it's worth mentioning here that we saw in the video that Richard had them go to the left-hand side as well. So now we're using the number 3, the left back, instead of the right back as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about sequence 3 and slightly different nuance here. We see that the player, the number 4 in possession, will play the ball high up to the number 10. The number 10 will receive the ball and now play back to the 6 and then bring the number 2 in on the 3rd pass. So instead of playing directly to the width, the player in possession has now made the decision to play directly to the number 10. And of course, that might happen in the game when we've been successful in spreading the defense wide, and that will then open up opportunities to play inside. Ian.
Yeah, thank you, David. So I'd just like to reiterate what you were saying. When we go around this way, we heavily favor the right-sided player, the right-footed player. So I would probably go around this way to start with to have a good degree of success. And for the majority of players, it will be the easier of the ways to go. Ultimately, going around the opposite way, which now gets us a little bit more left foot dominant, is there should be a preponderance. There should be more on the left side because that's the weaker part for the players. And so as youth coaches, we want to be developing and spending a lot of time addressing left-sided passing, left-sided movement. So do make sure you mix it up clockwise, counterclockwise. Again, another pattern, a much more direct, penetrating pass, missing one midfielder out because we can afford to, so we're playing high. Now this player can get turned and faced without having to worry about dealing with the ball. And as the ball is laid back, they're facing the way they want to play. So I like that pattern of going long to come back. I also like, we can see here, as this ball is played and this pattern is developing, the number 2 player has come from here, has made a run around the mannequin and has appeared. So we've got this notion of movement off the ball as the pass is playing. So we're starting to build in 3rd and 4th players anticipating passes, moving off in advance of the ball. So this can become increasingly a limited touch, 1 to 2 touch activity. If it's starting to take 3-4 touches after a while, we probably need to go back and address some of the fundamental technique and body position.
And Ian, in the next sequence or the next activity, we're going to see this sequence develop with some defenders. A couple of things possibly to mention here that a coach can add. We could make the field a little bit longer so we can start the play deeper in our defensive end and allowing a number 2 and then maybe a number 7 to play a slightly higher up. So we could end up adding another combination, playing from the central defender to the 2, playing even wider to the 7 or higher up, or getting a combination between the 6, 10 and the number 7. So there's a number of nuances that we could add in here without necessarily adding to the complexity.
Yeah, and if I may, David, if I just go back 2 slides. So here is one pattern that Richard showed us. And if we click forward here, we've got a second pattern. I would argue that you could probably come up with, if not infinite, a significant number of patterns and occasionally skip a player out. The key is to at least go through 2 or 3 patterns before you add in pressure or defenders. So now as the defenders play realistically to what they see, now you're asking your players to choose the pattern or the part of the pattern that best fits the situation. If you only give them one pattern and rehearse it and put defenders in, and the defenders take away that pattern, it's difficult to help the kids solve the problem. But if you've shown them 2 or 3 patterns, they should be able to now select from that bag of tricks to find the correct one based on the disposition of the defenders.
Well, thank you, coaches, for joining us on this edition of Give and Go Live, and please join us for activity number 2 from Richard Scott.